You're listening to Oilersnation Radio, presented by the Nation Network.
What do we got today, Jared?
We got Paul Woida, my boy from St. Albert, not St. Paul, Chris.
You said St. Paul.
I said St. Albert. And this is his song, All the Lights, just dropped today. And if you ever have a chance to see this guy perform live, it's amazing. He loops himself, so he beatbox, plays guitar, sings over builds his songs from scratch. Unbelievable.
Paul Woida.
Paul Woida.
St. Albert's own.
Yeah, buddy.
But he goes out to that BP's. No? Nobody loves BP's fans?
I like BP's.
Yeah,
Chris is just staring
we're all
at me.
They
big
have
BPs.
VLTs.
Oh, a couple
I
of
like
spins.
VLTs at BP's.
Couple of spins. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Oilers Nation Radio, episode 34. I said 33 originally. Cam had to crumple up a paper and throw it away because he does not like to cross out the titles on his paper that we throw away anyway.
Happens every day, every episode.
Every single day. We record a new podcast every day.
A big thank you goes out to our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant out in Sherwood Park, Alberta for making this all possible. Follow them on Twitter at Sherwood Ford and on Instagram at Sherwood Ford _the Giant. They have a big event coming up tomorrow, which is Saturday, April 27th. It is their Adopt a Petathon starting at 1 p.m. Christopher, tell me about it.
We are going to play with the dogs. If you're going to Sherwood Ford looking to adopt tomorrow, make sure to go on to their website online. You can find it through social media, the correct links, but you have to register yourself to adopt before you actually show up. So you can't show up and take a dog home with you.
So it's not just like buy one vehicle, get one dog free?
Well, I intend on showing up and being like, hey, look over there. Dogs are gone.
What?
With me.
You're
Taking them all home.
You're gonna like round them all up in some kind of big
Taking them
sack.
home. Yep.
Just drag them home?
Well, Dan had some exciting news yesterday, some exciting personal news. So now you need a whole pack of dogs to
Yeah.
fill your new home.
Are you guys going to get a
Something
dog
like that.
in your new home?
You have allergy issues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Fortunately.
Fucking allergies, man.
You could have a fish.
You could have a fish.
Have a
could-
whole
you could-
aquarium.
You could have a fish and name it dog.
You know what I was looking into, and I hope that they have some at Sherwood Ford's event
Fish?
tomorrow, is turtles. Wouldn't it
Might-
be cool to have a turtle? Does anybody ever know anybody that owns a turtle?
In
Oh,
high
yeah.
school, we had turtles, and we used to take them out of their tanks and race them. I got suspended for that. We were talking about suspensions yesterday, Chris.
Yeah.
Seems like everybody had some issues at school, except Christopher. He was
I did not
Wonderful
get suspended. Never.
Yeah,
You never
me
got
either.
suspended?
Everyone here is like super badass, and I'm just like, no detentions through high school.
How on
over
earth
here.
did you navigate having to sit still for like 6 hours without doing anything nuts?
I was focused and dedicated to my
I was kicked out of a class one time for laughing.
I
That was the only time I've ever been disciplined.
I was coming back from McDonald's lunch and I threw a half full McFlurry out of the sunroof of the car. I was in the passenger seat into a mail truck that was driving right in the window.
Man,
man, it was a good shot.
It was really, really good. The guy chased us for like 15 minutes. And then he went to the school and he was like, your students are all fat.
Hey,
Do you get suspended?
I'm covered in Oreo
I actually
McFlurry
didn't get
now.
suspended, no.
Oh,
Last time I got suspended at school, Chris, it was because I sent out a mass email to the entire school.
that's funny. That's a good prank.
What did you say?
Well, what got sent was actually really inappropriate. This guy was writing a draft email about another student, and it wasn't very nice. And he was going to delete the draft, and instead of letting him delete it, I went copy all or whatever in the send list and sent it to everybody in the school.
How many people were in the school?
500 probably. 400.
See, I wasn't sure.
Ruthless.
I wasn't like, because I know Chris's high school, it was like him and like 4 other guys.
Yep. I graduated with 18 people, so like sending a
What?
mass email to
18
everybody.
people?
Yeah, it wouldn't be very effective.
You can send that in like your.
you could just
your-
yell it
your-
out the hallway
in your
and be
group-
like,
in your
yeah,
group
everybody
chat.
got it.
Yeah,
it's
we
called a
ought a
group
big
chat.
group chat.
Don't you guys have like a group chat now where you like have reunions and shit?
Yeah, what is your reunion like?
I've only been out of school for 8 years. We haven't had a reunion.
Oh, you're coming up close. You guys are going to meet up at a local Humpty's, I assume.
No, we're gonna go back.
18 people. How big was your guys' class? I was 350.
We had 100 and something.
Mine must have been close to like 700, 600.
That's
Yeah.
nuts.
Gigantic.
I don't even know how to fathom that just growing up with 18.
Well, it's like
You guys couldn't all fit in Humpty's, I'll tell you that much.
It doesn't make any
100
sense. to me.
times as big as yours.
Like
so.
it's pretty much just like high schools you see off the movies. Hey,
Kind of.
See, I never really got those movie references about high schools because my life was so much different than anyone.
Well, you're also watching movies that have the American references, which is not also, it's different thing.
Back to the Edmonton Oilers.
Yes.
Oilers.
Not a lot going on this week, boys. However, there is still some news to be had, to be spoken about. Oilers captain for the third consecutive season, Connor McDavid, was nominated for the Ted Lindsay Award, which is the league MVP as voted by the NHLPA. The other two nominees this year are Nikita Kucherov, who is also the Art Ross Trophy winner with 128 points. Patrick Kane is the third nominee, and he was third in league scoring with 110. My question for you, gentlemen, do you think there's any chance that Connor goes for a three-peat? If he does, he would become the first player to do so since Ovi did it in 2007 through 2010. The only other players to do so would be Wayne Gretzky and Guy Lafleur. Personally, I think it's going to go to Kucherov this year. Hell of a season. 128 points is no joke. That said, if you're going to make an argument for Connor, you could probably say that Connor got his 116 with a lesser squad. Perhaps that will merit some consideration. Dan, what do you think?
I think that the chance that Connor has is the fact that he is just continuing to garner more respect and support from the rest of the league's players. And this is voted on by the players. So, when his peers are rating him, I think most of them recognize him as the best player in the league. So there's that. But also going against him, I think, is that more people are recognizing Leon Draisaitl for being the goal-scoring dynamo that he is, and that he spent so much time with Connor this year.
It's no question Kucherov had a historic season, but Connor McDavid had a very badass season, if you think about it. Not only did he play on a team that was below 500 throughout the whole season, he also put up that many points. Didn't have very much help from his teammates. He also nearly broke his leg. He got suspended. He played fewer games than Kucherov. It's obvious that he's the best player in the league, but I think he had a very interesting season, interesting from the norm, and I would throw him my vote.
Of course you would. If you're going to look for a little bit of extra 4 votes for Connor, he led the league in even strength points with 81. Cam, I know you're excited about even strength points.
Yes.
He also led the league in average ice time by a forward with 22.50. We can talk about his usage relative to what we saw in the Leaf series when we get to the playoff bracket. Cam, what do you think?
Well, they already did the NHLPA player poll where everyone talks about all that random stuff, like who's the best player, who do you hate playing against, what fans are the best, cities, blah, blah, blah. And I'm pretty sure the players fairly unanimously said McDavid was the best player in the league in that NHLPA poll. So I imagine in this vote, he would win the award again, unless people randomly change their mind.
I want to see Connor just create a dynasty over the Ted Lindsay Award.
It's just his every single year?
Yeah.
I'd like
They
that.
should rename the award.
The Connor McDavid Award.
It's been interesting to me because I remember when I was younger that it was the Lester Pearson Award back then, but how it was always looked at as the award that you would get if you weren't necessarily the Hart Trophy shoe-in. It was second place, but it's kind of shifted now from the Hart Trophy being this big award because the writers discount people for not making the playoffs.
It's also you can tell now with the awards of the writers and that they vote on that they don't pay attention to certain teams.
Yeah.
It's very clear that there's noticeable biases. I remember there was a bunch of writers in the West who were adamant that Erik Karlsson was just ass defensively when he was in Ottawa. And they're like, why does this guy keep winning the Norris? And then he came to San Jose, and there was LA Kings writers who were like, oh fuck, this guy's actually good.
Yeah.
So you can just that's the problem with the writers is, justifiably so. You can't watch all the teams, but I think the players have a better idea of who's extremely good. I think.
Yeah, so it's just been interesting to see because the Hart Trophy was the end all to be all. If you won the Hart Trophy, that was a huge deal. Not so much anymore.
Well, and there's also the playoff angle, and they keep changing the rules on whatever. Dan and I were looking at the stats from this season. It's super interesting how many 100-point players there were this year. There was 6. There was another 2 guys with 99 points. Stamkos had 98. Barkov had 96. Mitch Marner had 94. In total, there was 14 guys with 90-plus points this year. I don't remember the last time that's happened.
I think
a lot of high-scoring years.
So partly there were more goals this year than last year. So, I mean, I want to direct that a little bit to the goalie equipment change. But also, I think just there's a lot more high skill players nowadays than the 80s and 90s when like one or two players just dominated a team. Now you're seeing many players from many different teams like put up these high point seasons, and it's so entertaining.
I think teams now are leaning more into that really load up one first line thing. Like we saw with Colorado, they had that Landeskog, McKinnon, Rantanen line that was just nails for them all year. The Oilers just played the ever-loving piss out of McDavid and Draisaitl. Like if you look up and down this thing for every, like Toronto had like Marner and Tavares, and then there was Kucherov, Stamkos, and Point all right at the top. Barkov and Huberdeau there with 90 points. Like teams aren't going so much for scoring depth now. They're going for one really, really, really good line.
But it's funny to see too, when Bag Milk and I were looking through it, that you have the Tampas and you have the Torontos, the top teams in the league, but then you also have the Oilers with a top scoring pair, the Blackhawks with the top scoring guy, and the Panthers with the top scoring guy, and those teams just did not succeed because they have no depth scoring.
And they have no goaltending too. That was another thing. Like all Edmonton, Chicago, and Florida are teams that, I mean, if you look at their high level skill in the rosters, if they had a goalie that put up like a 9-15 save percentage, they're probably in the playoffs.
Yeah, fair enough. It's just interesting to see.
We are, speaking of goaltending, I asked our resident goalie expert, Kat Silverman, will be doing a breakdown on Mikko Koskinen and kind of what's going on there. Can a 30-year-old goalie improve? Is this a thing that can happen? Kat's going to have a look at it for us. That's going to come up in probably the next week or so on ON, on Oilersnation.com, Chris.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, he's just such a mystery. And I know like Dusty's been on it on Inside the Nation the last few episodes, just rattled by his contract. And I'm curious to see what Catherine has to say. But I'll never forget the 10 games Koskinen played where he stood on his head and had the best
10 good games gets you a 3-year deal. That's how to do business.
I know.
Could you imagine, okay, straight up, right now, so the season's over, Koskinen did what he did all year, finished with his 905 save percentage or whatever the fuck it was. What would you sign him for right now heading into UFA? What would he get?
To me, like
2 years, $2 million per?
Well, what I was going to say is if he got extended 2 years at his 2.5 that he got last year, I feel like that would be very reasonable.
I agree.
But you look at the list of UFA goalies and like, do you think right now, who would you be more comfortable handing out a bigger deal to, him or Mike Smith?
Oh, well.
I mean, it's pretty close, right? Yeah. Would you hand Mike Smith a 3-year deal with $4.5 million?
No. But I wouldn't have done Koskinen either. It's funny that watching Inside the Nation, if you want to watch that, by the way, that is on Mondays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. on our Facebook page. Seeing Dusty is just not letting up on it. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be interesting to see how they approach the goaltending situation in the summer because they need a backup that can push him. They need a guy who can help take off some pressure and play effectively. And I know that Christian Pignani is working on something in the back end at Oilers Nation about whether it would make any sense to buy him out.
Can you buy him out? Does his contract start on July 1? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
So you can buy him out technically.
So technically, the first 2 years, there's a little bit of variance in terms of what the cap number would look like, but it's about 1.44 over 6 years if you bought him out.
So we'll look at some similar UFA goalies with similar save percentages right around the 900 mark going into UFA this year. There's Anders Nielsen, who had a 908 save percentage, Brian Elliott 907, Mike Smith was 898, Cam Ward was 897.
How many games played do these goalies have?
These guys all played like around like 20, 30, 40 games.
Okay.
So do you think any of these guys are going to land a 3-year deal somewhere?
No.
No, it's not happening.
Backup goalies move around a lot. And right now, Koskinen is a very highly paid backup.
Yeah.
However, I'm hopeful. Maybe an offseason of training.
It's
maybe
just
a new glove hand.
Maybe
somebody's hand has been donated to him.
New robot hand. It's just such a small sample size with Koskinen. Like I'm curious to see what happens this year because he's proved that he has the skill to steal NHL games, but obviously consistency is key. with goalies across the NHL. So I mean, he obviously
He was good when the team was rolling and they were healthy and they had like a good looking blue line.
Yeah, but then Bag Milk, you say that he needs a backup goalie to push him. When we traded Talbot, Koskinen went on another little run there when he had the whole net to himself. And I mean, technically, when we did have Talbot and they were competing for 1A and 1B, Koskinen didn't really pull ahead.
Well, and also, I agree with you. But also towards the end of the year, he got like 25, 26 straight starts or something like that.
I know.
You can't really judge him for his numbers in March.
So they played the wheels off him at the end of the year. And I wonder how that affected what.
What was the logic behind that? What were they trying to do there?
Well, I understand they were trying to make the playoffs, but like at the same point, they also lost control over Anthony Stolars. Am I saying he's the answer in net? No. However, it's nice to control an asset that you traded for.
Yeah.
And also just see what you have in him. You like getting
of
that
course.
playing time out of him. But
And just I think get NHL experience, whether he plays good or bad, just the more ice time he gets.
Like, there's no way that they could have got an adequate sample size or an idea of what Stolars is all about in the six games he played.
No.
But I guess, I don't know, was the goal there playing Koskinen so hard that he got injured and they could shove him on Farron's Peninsula? Was that the long play there?
Who knows, man? All I know is goaltending is a completely different animal altogether. Speaking of animals, tomorrow at our friends at Sherwood Ford, our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant are doing their Adopt a Petathon starting at 1 p.m. on Saturday, April 26th. If you have the ability to take a dog or a cat, or I don't know what else they're going to have out there.
Ostriches, donkeys, unicorns,
you're going to bring
fish, turtles.
You're going to need a trailer is what Cam's saying. If you have the ability and the means to take an animal home with you, I encourage you to do it. They will brighten your life, just like Frank has brightened mine. Although I got him as a puppy. My last dog, though, she was a rescue, and I loved her very much. So you will love the animal you pick up at Sherwood Ford tomorrow. And they're good people out there as well.
just remember to register before you head over.
Register
Register on the website so you can actually adopt an animal.
Oh,
Chris
okay.
was mentioning there.
Tell us about it, Chris.
We talked about this last time.
That was the intro that got canceled. Remember Jared's computer?
No, he
wasn't
did
recording?
talk about it.
Wasn't it? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm confused.
What are you
Anyways.
talking about? What episode are you talking about that we didn't miss? What are you talking about? Nothing exists.
We didn't re-record anything.
Nothing is real.
Yeah, if you are truly going to Sherwood Ford and you want to adopt an animal, you need to pre-register yourself on Sherwood Ford's website. They have their links, the direct link on their social media accounts at Sherwood Ford _ the Giant on Instagram and at Sherwood Ford on Twitter. So yeah, register yourself before you head down to the event, and you could walk away with a pet cat or dog.
Or if you go to sherwoodford.ca, you can talk to Victoria. She's available to help you right now, Cam. She always is.
You ask her anything right now? Ask her about the animals?
Say,
ask her
I
what
want
animals
dog.
they have.
I want dog.
I am dog.
Ask for Dan if they have the turtles there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Dan, since he can't be around any animals, is going to have to get a big aquarium full of fish.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a tank of 23 fish and name them all after the Edmonton Oilers.
Might just take out the front wall of the new house and just put it in a giant aquarium.
That'd be nice.
There was actually a house in my neighborhood that I went trick-or-treating to that had, right when you opened the door, had a massive aquarium that took up the entire, it was terrifying.
This year?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it was when I was trick-or-treating this year.
Okay.
He's super into it. Although cleaning an aquarium is a whole thing.
Yeah.
You can't just get one of those little sucker fish and put it in there, Chris. That's what I thought. I've never had an
It's
aquarium.
like in Finding Nemo, they have the guy that's up against the wall.
Yeah. And they also had Dory. And she got stung by jellyfish in that one part. It was very upsetting.
Spoilers. Settle down.
If you haven't seen Finding Nemo yet,
Sorry.
I don't feel bad for you.
We're sorry.
This week over at Sportsnet, Mark Spector had a chance to sit down with former Edmonton Oilers coach Todd McLellan as he signed a brand new deal worth $5 million over 5 years with the Los Angeles Kings. There was a couple of quotes from the interview that I thought were interesting. The first was, "What's it like getting fired?" And Todd responds with, "Well, it hurts getting fired. It's a slap. It's the first time it's happened to me, but I've recovered and I'm more determined than I've ever been, Chris." Just think of what that means for his suit game. I bet he's got those babies dry cleaned, maybe added some new suits to the collection, matched
sure.
the gray and black.
He's got to buy some new ties for sure.
Gonna have to buy some new ties.
Wait, so we poached him from San Jose? He didn't get fired from San Jose?
No, they did that
mutually
thing where,
parted, didn't they?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
they did that thing where we're like, we're just gonna part ways.
And we gave up a draft pick to do so
Right.
back in the day.
Yeah,
You
when
gave up a
the
draft
rules
pick for
were-
him and Pistol Pete.
Like at least the McClellan one, you're like, well, you know, I mean, Todd had a raw deal. He was he was not a perfect coach by any means, but he had a raw deal and he got fired probably before he should have, blah, blah, blah. But that second round pick for Peter Chiarelli is real upsetting right now. Real upsetting. Another question was, you must feel like Hercules after the Edmonton experience. Do tell. And then Todd, I don't know, man. Todd responded with, I love my time in Edmonton. I would have stayed there forever. I enjoyed the community, the feel of it, the fans, the players, working at Sports Central and helping as many kids as we could. There are so many positives there, but sometimes things just don't work out and people pay the price. I was one of them, Chris.
Yeah, very true. It's nice to see, to hear he loved Edmonton. It's reassuring.
Well, and he was a great community guy too. He did a lot of work with Sports Central. Great charity here we've partnered with as well. I remember when he was hired as the ambassador or took that role on as the ambassador at Sports Central, we went to their office and kind of did some video stuff. And he was very nice, super nice to everybody, had time for everybody that wanted to ask questions. I stared at him from afar. Was
that you and I that were in the media scrum?
Yes.
That was cool.
Yeah, we were in the media scrum right beside like Terry Jones and Jim Matheson, and everybody's like, who are these clowns? And we're holding iPhones. And
yeah.
I don't know.
My phone wasn't actually recording anything. I just wanted to look the part.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't ask any questions. We were just there.
Yeah.
We were just there.
Very exciting.
You should have brought like one of these microphones and had it just not plugged into anything.
It's just the cords dragging on the ground. Coaching Connor McDavid is every coach's dream. When you write the book at the end of your career, what will you say about your time as his coach? I thought this was interesting. We all know Connor's a hell of a player on the ice. Obviously, we talked about him being nominated for the Ted Lindsay for the third straight year, but I thought it was interesting to see the angle that Todd took, speaking more about what he's like as a person as opposed to what he's like on the ice. Todd says, there are two parts to the hockey athlete, the human part and the hockey part. A lot of players have both to varying degrees, but Connor scores 100 in both areas. He's an outstanding person you enjoy being around. He's fun, he's bright, he's a great leader, and he's an outstanding player. We all see him as a player, but I got to see him as a human being as well. His compassion for his teammates, for the community, for the kids who wanted an autograph. I appreciated that as much as I appreciated him as a hockey player. Chris, does that give you little tingles?
It does. Like, what are the odds? I mean, you're born with like superhuman hockey skills, but you're also born with superhuman personality skills. And
so that's just something, if your personality skills something you're born with, that's not something you grow in.
But I mean, the fact that he's 100 in both areas, like McLellan says, that's a very nice to hear.
I think it's interesting because Connor very much and clearly knows what he means to the game and what he means to the league. Could you imagine if he was just a dick, where he was just like an asshole type of personality that had amazing skills? He's still Connor on the ice, but off the ice, he's like, get fucked, kid. I'm not signing your shit.
Yeah.
He'd be our dick.
Yeah, he'd be our dick. And we'd love him for it. Be like, take that.
Can you think of an example of like a hockey player that was really good, that was a huge fucking...
No, I can't.
No, but like a really, really good
No, well, Brad Marchand is noted.
He's not a generational talent.
He's a huge...
Brad Marchand is not a generational
He's really good.
No, okay, Marchand's known as a very nice guy.
It's very easy to pull like good hockey players that are dicks, but I'm talking like a Gretzky, Crosby, Lemieux, Bobby Orr, McDavid, like they all seem to have that thing in common, that they have the self-awareness that they're...
I've heard stories that like Martin Brodeur was a huge dick and had a huge ego.
Overrated.
Oh, wow.
System player.
Bold.
Patrick Wall was kind
of... Yeah, goalies are so fucked though, so it's not surprising.
I keep putting it up and you just keep smacking them down.
Yeah, it's like Dan's saying shit over here and I'm like, I don't want to hear it at all.
In this day and age...
You roll in here thinking you're better than everybody else because you bought a fucking house yesterday. Yep. It's like, get out of here. Yep.
In this day and age, I think... talking about players who are dicks, it's more focused on talking about players who are like more focused on partying and drinking.
Because it seems like all the dick players are like Dan says, Brad Marchand, someone like that who's like a good, not great, not generational player, but like very good. But those guys that are the real top tier always seem to be like quality guys. At least from the outside, it seems.
I wonder if that is a part of it, is just how a guy like Connor, a guy like Sidney Crosby, they've been trained to do this since they were like 12 years old.
Yeah, imagine being that dick and like living in the social media world now and just having everything you do just magnified to the umpteenth, you know.
I think there's something to be said too, like when you have that personality and awareness that a star like McDavid has, is it goes into why he's so good, is that he's so focused and committed and kind of like grateful for like what he has going on, that he doesn't take it for granted. And if he were like a shit person, then, you know, do you take it for granted, then you don't become that player.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. He's always trying to get better. He's like the kind of guy who's going to Like, I would love to know how much it bothers him right now that he can't be skating or that kind of thing. Like that he's got to chill out for a little bit. Do you think he's sitting there like with his leg extended as it's recovering from his PCL injury, but he's still pumping weights anyway?
Oh yeah.
He's probably just like sitting there like doing like
he's probably
hand drills and shit with one of those like stick handling balls.
Yeah, he's sitting in his wheelchair or whatever, but just still firing pucks in a net. Targets.
Watching game tape from the last year.
Okay, I thought of a player that I think is a dick off the ice.
Go ahead.
Evander Kane.
Sure, but again, not.
But like he's super good.
No,
I don't think.
Not.
I think to that point though, you can
Well,
you can extrapolate it though and say that all sports now their stars have to be more aware of the fact that they are the face of the league, and it's not a controlled thing. It's a every day you're the face of the league.
You're right, but then if we're just gonna focus on generational players, there's been like 3.
Well, no, there's like McDavid, there's Crosby, there's Bobby Orr, there's Lemieux. Was Eric Lindros one maybe?
Maybe.
I guess Bobby Orr.
I'd say like
you get to the past 2, you got like Maurice Richard.
Okay, if you're thinking like that far.
See, I'm not going down and being like, oh, Evander Kane's a generational talent. No, he's like the 25th best winger in the NHL.
Stamkos was,
Which is still impressive.
Yeah,
no
still
doubt.
a very good player.
Yeah.
but I think like even like I said to the fact that it's like a sports wide thing. The last like true great player that was a dick would be like Barry Bonds in my mind.
Yeah.
Like
Michael
Barry
Jordan
Bonds
was kind of a dick too, I think.
Yeah. But Bonds, like right up till the end, Bonds was like a
huge
jerk.
Huge
Just
asshole.
straight up jerk.
My
Wouldn't
favorite
sign
part
your
about-
autographs.
My favorite part about Barry Bonds is how if you look at him as a rookie and to where he ended, how his head grew probably 10 sizes.
That probably speaks to why he was probably a bit of a jerk.
I love that. It's amazing. I didn't know your head could triple in size, but he taught me something. And for that, I'm grateful. Another thing going on with the Edmonton Oilers this week was Evan Bouchard had himself a week.
It was Evan Bouchard week.
Evan Bouchard week.
Do you think he's a nice guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Would you consider him a generational talent?
Well, he's a sage veteran.
He's a 40-year-old dad, and he's just trying to make his way and do his best.
That guy went through puberty at the age of 3.
So, the London Knights, they were up 3-0 in their series. They got bumped. I don't think anybody expected that, but that's okay. And Bouchard from there got assigned to the Bakersfield Condors to help out with their playoff run. He sat out. He was a healthy scratch for the first 2 games. Jay Woodcroft said that he wanted to get him acclimatized to the team. He hadn't spent any time with those players. Makes sense. Game 3, they went with 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. Old man Bouch. Dad went out there and got goal, 2 assists. Found himself tied now with the Condors' lead in playoff scoring. Had himself a hell of a night. That actually made him the first Oiler in a season, or I guess in the franchise. Was that right, Dan?
Yep.
Yeah, franchise.
First in franchise history to score a goal in the NHL, in junior, and in the AHL, all in the same season.
He was also the first Oiler this season to score a goal in the OHL, the AHL.
I'd be impressed if he scored a goal in the NHL, the AHL, and the OHL, and scored a goal for my ball hockey team.
See, that would have been impressive.
But he didn't score a goal for my ball hockey team.
You guys are done now. He didn't have
because he
that
wasn't.
chance.
Yeah, because we won the championship.
Yesterday, he was also announced as the Max Kaminsky Trophy winner, which is awarded to the OHL's most outstanding defenseman. After going back to London from the Edmonton Oilers, he got 53 points, 16 goals, 37 assists in the 45 games. That gave him a 1.18 points per game, the second highest total in the OHL this season. He was also the only defenseman in the league to average more than 4 shots per game. I like the idea of a trigger-happy defenseman. I like the idea of an offensive defenseman. I'm very intrigued to see how he does with the Condors tomorrow. I assume after a 3-point night, he's going to be back in the lineup.
Yep.
You'd think.
Yep.
I'm just really excited to see how he does. Looking ahead next year, the new coach / new GM, we're going to talk about that in a sec, is going to have to decide what to do with him. If you take Bobby Nix at his word, he will be starting the year in the AHL. What do you guys think of this guy who is deemed not a top 50 prospect by one Craig Button?
There's a reason Craig Button's not an NHL GM right now. He didn't think Marty St. Louis was much of a prospect either.
Was he the GM in Calgary when that
Was?
happened?
Put him on
boy.
waivers.
Oh,
And
boy.
he let go of J.S. Shigeru as well right before he really hit it.
That's great.
A little other Oilers angle on this Most Outstanding Defenseman award for Bouchard. He becomes the 6th Knight to win it, but the first to do it since Danny Savret. Remember him, Chris?
No.
How did that turn out?
No idea who that is.
They traded Savret what for? Was it Ryan Pultone? That was the trade?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
Why the fuck do I know that?
That's a random little factoid to keep in your brain bank there, my friend. So all in all, Evan Bouchard week continues. He will be accepting this award at the Hockey Hall of Fame on June 5th in Toronto. The way it works, I actually thought it was interesting. This award is voted on by all the GMs in the league. So they put their melons together. They all nominate a player. They're not able to vote for their own player. But Evan Bouchard ran away with it. He finished significantly ahead of the second place in voting for this award.
So if Danny Savret's career trajectory is to be believed, we're going to trade Evan Bouchard for Ryan Strome in 2 years?
No,
trade him for Ryan
Calgary is
Pultone.
going to be trading Johnny Gaudreau for Ryan Strome because he cannot produce in the playoffs.
Hey, you know who else won that OHL award for top defenseman is Andrej Sekera.
Reggie.
Way back in the day, apparently. He played in the OHL. I didn't know that.
Man, I didn't know the OHL was a league when he was a young man.
Because that was back in that's back during the World War II era.
Yeah.
It was like
50.
3
Because
years.
Sekera's got to be like in his 70s now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's had 4
I feel
knee
like he's
replacements.
played with the Oilers for like 15 years.
and those Eastern European years are hard ones too, you know?
He goes home and he works on the railroad in the off season.
Drinking yak's blood. That's his electrolyte du jour.
Nail Yakupov's blood.
I just feel happy that Bouchard is the first prospect in a long time that there's a prospect every year that we're like really excited about, and he's winning awards and being really successful. But I feel like we're on the right track with Bouchard, and I feel like there's no pressure to have him in the NHL next year. And it's just a relief that we can cheer for this prospect in our system and not have to like stress over whether he'll play in the NHL.
It's like he's not like a savior, but he's good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and he's going to be a contributing member to the team, which I think Chris is saying is a breath of fresh air. Much
And
like
he's-
what you'll get from our friends at POG. Whether you've got the plug-in unit, the mobile unit, or the one that goes in your fridge, you are going to kill 98% of household odors caused by bacteria and fungi. They have got an air freshener for you. They have a 30-day odor-free challenge for you. They have got a POG deodorizer that freshens and purifies the air naturally using the power of ozone and eliminates odors without the use of dangerous chemicals. I have one in my house. My house smells like Frank, my dog. Thanks to our friends at POG, it no longer does. Dan no longer needs a bathroom fan. So we've talked about Chris's goalie equipment is smelling very fresh. And Cam's car smells wonderful as well.
Yes.
Head on over to thepogstore.com. Pick yourself up a unit that fits your life. I want to talk about, before we get to the playoffs and to our brackets and how badly those are. Well, Dan, yours is all right. Mine's terrible.
Yep.
I want to talk about Vegas getting bumped out, which opened up a lane for the Oilers to talk to Kelly McCrimmon about the GM position. At this point, I was thinking about this last night. The GM search has gone on essentially since January when Chiarelli got fired. We've been talking about who could come in, who's it going to be, is it going to be Keith, blah, blah, blah. Do you have any preference on who is hired as the GM? I was thinking about this last night and just had the realization that I don't know shit about any of these guys. I can read recaps on what they've done, where they've worked, what they look like. I can make my judgments on who's got the best hair. I feel like that goes a long way with me. Kelly McCrimmon is far and away the leader in that department.
Must be nice.
Do you guys care, Cam?
Well, I mean, I personally would rather see them, like Christian wrote that interesting post on the website where he looked at the current GMs in the league now and he was like, all right, which GMs came from where, how, like the ones that were internal hires, how good was the team that they were a part of? Keith Gretzky obviously is here for a few years under Chiarelli. The team was hot ass. That's why Chiarelli's not here. He would be one of the lowest winning percentage internal hires. And then there was the outside hires. Personally, I think given the way that Vegas saw such like obscene success as an expansion franchise, and I think they did it kind of with like new interesting measures and ways of viewing the game, like more of a creative, like futuristic look. I think he would be the one to bring in. Like I really think the Oilers desperately need a breath of fresh air. I hope it's not internal, but I think just given Vegas' success, that's where I would
Here's
go.
why I'm super intrigued by Kelly McCrimmon as well. I think with an expansion draft coming up with Seattle in a year and a half, whatever that is, he got to sit at the table and receive pitches from all other 30 teams in the league on what they should do. I think that's the kind of experience that would be invaluable going into the next draft for the Oilers. Just having an idea of what other teams could potentially be throwing out there in terms of protecting their own players or whatever. I think Kelly McCrimmon's a good choice, but again, I'm smart enough to realize that I don't know shit. Dusty's been selling me on Bill Guerin for months now. I like that idea too. Maybe Pat Verbeek from Tampa is a good idea. Maybe he joins Yzerman in Detroit. Who knows?
Just anybody from the outside is what I
just
have to stress.
think that they need, like Cam said, a new way of looking at things. I like the way Vegas has an analytics department and they use that as part of player evaluation. I like all of that. You need to give yourself the best tools to do the job. Dan?
I think, to echo that and then also add on to it, I think the most important thing for me, I agree. I have no idea, what signings Keith Gretzky was in on and all that kind of crap and all that. But what I want to see is I want to see the GM come in and demand some autonomy over who's above him, and demand that the OBC doesn't have a spot at the table anymore. That kind of change that this organization sorely needs is what I want to see from
a proper org chart, you might say.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. To just reiterate what you guys were saying, we don't know what, as fans, this is all we can grasp. Like, we don't know McCrimmon's personality. We don't know. Maybe he didn't say a single word the entire time during.
Just sat there and got like blackout drunk at the draft table.
Maybe he was. We don't know. But just the fact that he came from that kind of environment and he was soaking it all in. That's all we can really go with.
Yeah. Well, it's like we could write an article that says that Jake DeBrusk came in solely because of Keith Gretzky, but we don't have that kind of access. We don't have that kind of knowledge. Yes, he was there when it was involved, but like you said, he could have been out,
And if that was the case,
we could also go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, if that's the case, then you can also say that he's the reason Boston draft Thomas Chabot, Kyle Connor, Matt Barzal, Brock Besser.
Exactly. So it's I mean, the access that we have doesn't give us any knowledge.
Darren Dreger tweeted out last week at some point that the Oilers are looking to have this wrapped up May 1st / early May. So as of today, as we record, it is the 26th. So
clock's ticking.
We could be within a week of finding out who our new GM is. If they can get it wrapped up in early May, like Dreger says is the plan, I think that's ideal. There was a while where they talked about maybe not even having somebody ready at the draft, which would have been bananas to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see how this wraps up. It's been 3-4 months in the making. Curious to see how it goes.
I'm just fully expecting for Keith Gretzky to get hired.
Right,
well,
the person's like, all right, it's gonna be McCrimmon, it's gonna be Guerin, it's gonna be Verbeek, it's gonna be so and so, Mark Hunter, whoever. Keith Gretzky.
None of us are going to be surprised.
And what we know right now is that Keith Gretzky has been floated out by media that is connected to the Oilers closely, and then we know that Mark Hunter has been interviewed twice. And that's basically all we have so far, right?
Unless you believe Dusty Nielsen at his word, which I do,
yes, fair enough.
Where he talked about his pair of sources saying that Keith Gretzky has already been informed he does not have the job.
I wonder if they wanted to give him the job and they floated it out there with the Matheson and Jones types, and the response was so bad, they're like, okay, we can't do
this. Well, they just got dunked on repeatedly.
Because I'm wondering if a key part of their hiring process with the new GM is like, all right, you can come in, but you have to keep these guys, and one of those guys is Keith. That's your AGM.
So, that leads me into my next point. I had a little idea. Let's pretend you're Bob Nicholson and you're pitching these guys to be the next GM. In a sentence, in a quick, tidy little sentence before we move on to our playoff talk, how are you pitching a guy like Kelly McCrimmon to be the next GM of the Edmonton Oilers? Dan?
How do you fix our salary cap? I want to hear that answer from a GM coming in. I get what you're saying.
But
how
for a guy
do I
like
entice him?
No. Yeah, how does Bob Nicholson sell Kelly McCrimmon? Because right now, the way I look at it, of course, if McCrimmon is your choice, he's in Vegas. He's in a good spot.
Yeah.
He's going to have an opportunity to perhaps go to Seattle as a GM and start right over again. He's going to have choices. He doesn't need to come to Edmonton.
All right. Yeah, so my pitch
need him
is
more than he needs us.
My pitch is Seattle doesn't have Connor McDavid.
There you go. That's a tidy little sentence. Chris, what do you got?
Cam, do you want to go? Do you got something?
The situation here was wildly idiot proof the first time around, and it's still probably idiot proof, and you have a very, very good chance to accomplish something. and you have a lot of balls in your court and a lot of ammunition to do something good.
And I would say, if you get this right, you will be a god forever.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We need a hero, and he could be it. And also, Edmonton has a beautiful river valley.
It does. It does.
Great new restaurant scene.
And we also have casinos just like Vegas. So
Yeah, okay, head on out to the River Cree, have a couple of spins.
Yep.
There's a casino right in the arena. Right in the arena.
Vegas doesn't have a casino in the arena.
We work
Take
here,
that, Vegas.
and we promise not to be critical of you for at least 6 months.
We promise to make it through the draft and maybe free agency, depending on what you do, without criticizing you too much. Maybe 15 to 20 articles. No big deal. Boys, I want to talk about the playoffs. There has been some upsets. This is the first time ever that the first seed in all 4 divisions got bumped. First time ever that the conference winners from both conferences were bumped in the first round. First time ever both Crosby and Ovechkin have been knocked out of the first round.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
How's that a tasty
I
little
didn't know that.
factoid for you?
That's something.
It is. It's something. It's weird. Looking at it, I want to know who is the biggest upset for you, and I'm going to take Tampa out of the mix. We're all going to say Tampa's the biggest upset. Outside of them, who's the biggest playoff upset? Dan?
When it happened, I think it's Pittsburgh. Like Pittsburgh getting eliminated in 4 games straight to the Islanders, who don't have John Tavares. They don't have the superstar power that they had.
They have Jordan
previously.
Eberle, superstar.
And he has absolutely come out of the woodwork.
Do you think he's a nice guy?
I think he's a great guy.
Generational talent, nice guy?
He's good. I don't know if he's generational talent, but yeah, I'd say the Pittsburgh Penguins with Sidney Crosby getting 1 point in the series is pretty wild.
I'm going to say biggest upset was Carolina over Washington. I still think Carolina's running straight on fumes. They have some good players on their team, but as far as like depth goes and skill goes, I wouldn't bet on them. Washington had it all. Washington had momentum. They've had a good season. They had experience. They had a Alex Ovechkin. They have a Vezina candidate goalie, and they couldn't do it. And I'm shocked by that.
I think it was Dallas over Nashville. That was so random because Evan the intern cares a lot about Dallas, but okay.
Wow.
Evan's a big Dallas Stars guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we watched Dallas a few times this year, and I thought, man, this team's got nothing. Like they're slow, sluggish, boring.
They had that huge scandal with their president just raking Ben and Sagan over the coals.
Funny, that's when they kind of turned their season around, hey?
Yeah, but I remember coming to a game against Dallas, and I watched it in person here against the Oilers, and the Oilers carved out like a 2-1 win, and Dallas had no firepower, and that was against like a Oilers blue line without Sakara and Klefbom, and I thought, like, how is this team scoring goals on Nashville? It doesn't make any sense.
I think for me, I'm going to go with not necessarily surprising that St. Louis beat Winnipeg, because I picked them in my bracket. It's one of the only things I got right. But that Winnipeg just kind of went out so quietly. They were all season long up until probably January, February. Winnipeg was rolling. And you're just like, all right, they've got a really good team here. They got a lot of good pieces. No airport. That might have been what killed them. But I didn't expect them to go out so quietly.
You know what's actually a more difficult question to answer? What happened in the first round that was like insanely predictable?
That a referee would fuck up a call.
No, we're gonna get to that. Right coming up after this.
Oh, I got it.
That was to get
you know what the answer is.
That Boston-Toronto goes to Game 7.
And then Toronto lost. That was so fucking predictable.
Yeah.
Like they got that 3-2 series lead. I knew coming into this series that this was going to be the year that the Leafs were going to fuck up. The last time they lost, it was kind of like, whatever. You're young and you were down 3-1 in the series. But this year they had the lead going into Game 6 at home, and it was like, oh man, you're going to find a way to blow this.
Yeah, it was interesting.
That was the only predictable part of the first round.
Because in Game 6, they also had a 1-goal lead early.
Yeah.
And you're watching it and you're like, oh, maybe they're finally going to slay the dragon this year. And then the wheels just fell off. And then Game 7, they just got outplayed.
Yeah, I was surprised by them. I wanted them to lose, but I thought they were going to beat Boston. And I don't know. Matthews played good. scored lots. Tavares contributed at the end.
Babcock mostly at fault.
Well, that's what I was
so,
talking
yeah.
about, because earlier we talked about Connor McDavid leading the league with 22.50 in average ice time among forwards. Game 7, Babcock didn't play. Matthews played 19 minutes
I think
or
it was
less.
17:50 or 18:20.
A lot of their good players didn't go over 20 minutes.
At no point did Babcock move Nylander, because he was centering the third line with Brown and Marlowe because Kadri got kicked out, up to play with Matthews. And with 2 minutes to go, they had Brown and Marlowe on the ice. These two guys had contributed, and Frederick Gauthier was playing with 5 minutes left. What? Could you imagine if the Oilers were in a do or die game 7 and you had Brodziak and fucking Colby Cave on the ice?
Doesn't make any sense. And Babcock doesn't talk about it.
He carried on like he was coaching Team Canada.
Yeah, I mean, when you're coaching Team Canada and you can roll all 4 lines because your 4th line center is
Claude Giroux or
And I don't
Matt
care.
Duchene.
I don't care if Babcock had faith in those depth players. This is the playoffs. This is do or die. You pay your big stars to win you games, and you put them out there.
I think what Chris is trying to say is that the coaching in that Toronto series really stunk. And perhaps they could have fixed that had they had their POG deodorizer on the bench along with them. I've heard a team like Toronto will have a POG out in their dressing room to make sure that their equipment does not stink. But what about the coaching, Dan? Can the power of ozone change stinky coaching?
You don't
Perhaps.
know. You don't know unless you put Babcock in a room with just the POG running for 30 minutes, no air escaping. What happens?
Don't do that.
Don't.
However, do go to thepogstore.com to pick up a mobile unit, a wall unit, or a fridge unit that's going to kill 98% of household odors caused by bacteria and fungus. Join in their 30-day odor-free challenge and let them know what you think. Go to thepogstore.com, pick up the unit that fits your life. Freshen and purify the air in your home, car, wherever you are. Make your life smell a little bit better, Daniel.
Home car wherever you are. I like that.
Hey,
They might have something there.
Pog, if you want to take that, that's from me to you. Home car, wherever you are, get the Pog. We all made a bunch of videos this week. Hopefully we're going to see those out soon. Personally, I think Frank looks adorable in my video. I had him sitting nicely. He was staring at me. I was holding treats for him, making sure he was a good boy. And he was enjoying the Pog commercial that he's part of.
He's a celebrity and he has no idea.
No, he has no idea. Took him to the vet yesterday, and they literally paraded all the nurse assistants or whatever you call them at vets. They all came out to say hi to him. And there was another dog in the waiting room. No love for that other dog. And I actually felt bad for it. I was like, oh man, this other dog does not get no love.
Yeah.
Frank's getting all the love.
Frank just thinks everyone's really nice in general, but
Yeah, he's very handsome.
he doesn't know about this world.
He's
Is he
very handsome.
Is he a generational talent? Would you say?
Do
Absolutely.
you think is Frank a nice guy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is he good because he's a nice guy, or is he a nice guy because he's good?
I think a little of both. I raised him to be a free thinker. I raised him to be a good human being dog.
He's been being groomed since he was a child, and now he's one of the best dogs in the league, and he's such a nice guy. It's great.
Back to the playoffs, I want to talk about the 5-minute major on Cody Aiken that basically ended the San Jose Vegas series. Off the draw, Joe Pavelski took a high cross check, then he got thrown down, he got a little body slam. He was laying on the ice. After a conference, if I remember correctly, the refs came together. They decided it was going to be a 5-minute major. The Sharks went on to score 4 straight goals, almost winning. Vegas tied it, went to overtime. Sharks ended up winning in OT on a beauty goal by Goodrow. However, I'm curious what you guys thought about the penalty at all. I've watched it, I don't know, 10 times, 15 times. I can see maybe a 2-minute penalty, but a 5-minute, it seems like they awarded a 5-minute penalty because Pavelski was hurt, but I don't necessarily feel like the play merited the punishment.
I'm not going to let Chris speak. No, you're not speaking first.
My mouth open.
That was a really bad moment for the league. The referees very clearly, made the call. They were probably going to call it a 2-minute major or a 2-minute minor, and then changed it because Pavelski was laying on the ice because the Sharks players there was I counted at one point there was 9 Sharks players on the ice because some of them had come out to help Pavelski or help the doctor get out to Pavelski and all that kind of stuff. So they're campaigning with the referees. So the referees made a call. 30 seconds, 90 seconds after the play, and they decide to give a guy a 5-minute major. It was also a huge mistake.
It's very telling that the league reached out to the Golden Knights, George McPhee, and like apologized.
Yeah,
that kind of ends the discussion there.
Well, they fucked up. Everyone knows they fucked up. Before I talk about the penalty, whether you agree with the call or not, that was the most entertaining game of hockey I've ever watched in my life. And that's, even if the refs did fuck up, that's the beautiful thing about this game. And that's the beautiful thing about playoffs is that it's so unpredictable. It's so stressful. It's for San Jose to score 4 goals. Like you can't write this.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I agree it was fun and it was an exciting game, but I don't know if I want my excitement to manifest from fuck ups. Like, I've watched
100%.
enough baseball in my life to know like how great and exciting a game can be because an umpire does something dumb, and it's just like, it's frustrating. Like the Blue Jays in 2015 probably would have gone to the World Series had it not have been for an umpire making terrible calls in Game 6.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, that made an inning more entertaining or whatever, but like, Jesus Christ, the Jays got robbed.
Is that not the concept of all sports? In all sports, you're going to have bad officials and bad calls that you don't agree with, and you have to rally and you have to go through adversity. These players spent their whole lives like fighting through adversity, and like you don't like the call, and sure, the 5-minute major was an awful call. We all know that, but like you have to deal with it and move on, find a way to win.
But it's the nature of the 5-minute major. So if they get 2-minute, or like say it's a double minor because he drew blood, whatever, which isn't the rule, I know, but I'm just saying that. So if San Jose has the 2 power plays back to back, then they get the 2 goals in those power plays, and then the momentum is different because then it's a 5-on-5 game.
Well, I have a question. Yes, the call is what it is, but what is the onus on Vegas for allowing 4 straight goals on that?
Oh, totally.
It absolutely is.
They also blew the 3-1 series lead, shorthanded goal in Game 6. Like, Vegas choked.
You can't discount it. But for a team that was rolling up until that point, Vegas was all over the Sharks, and for that to just change the entire momentum of the game, which I agree with you, Chris, to the point that is playoffs hockey. That is playoff hockey, and that is the excitement of it, is that a referee, a bad mistake by a player can cause a penalty that can turn the momentum.
Okay, here's an exciting one for you. Was it exciting when Corey Perry interfered with Cam Talbot in 2017? Was that fun?
Same referee, by the way.
Yeah, like are you going to look back at that in hindsight? It was your team.
I'm not joking. That's the same referee. It's hard.
Are you looking back at that and being like, oh well, that stupid call, created a bunch of entertainment value and everybody had fun? No, the Oilers got fucking robbed.
And we didn't have fun.
But I remember being in a bar.
I remember being in the bar and it got very quiet.
That occasion is 100% different because it was.
No, it's not.
It was a reviewable play, and he reviewed it, and he fucked up the review. Not only did he fuck up the call in the ice, but he also messed up the review. And the thing about this is that the 5-minute major wasn't reviewable. The ref screwed up, and he's not skating in the second round of playoffs deservedly. But I think the Corey Perry situation was a lot worse because he messed up twice.
But it's not different in that
Ryan Kessler, wasn't it?
Ryan Kessler.
I thought it was Corey because he says, "What are we going to tell Corey?"
What are we going to tell Corey? Just in the sense that
they both suck.
Right?
Yeah.
Fuck all. They're all the same guy to me.
But that was also a scenario too where the Oilers were up in that game.
Oh, good players who are dicks: Corey Perry, Ryan Kessler.
There you go. But not generational. Pal.
Not generational.
Not generational.
Dicks.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I guess, and so what has to come out of this, and it's already been discussed. I think Bill Foley came out and said that he's obviously going to be lobbying for more review coming in the offseason, is a change in how reviews work and how video reviews work. Because right now, to me, video reviews are the dark figure hanging over a referee's shoulder that's going to make him look like an idiot because he's reversing his call due to the review booth. Whereas in the NBA, they've shifted it to a tool that the referees can use to back themselves up when they're not sure about a call.
In baseball, they've suggested is there's another umpire that watches the game kind of from like a press box area, and they all have the microphones, and they're like, so a tight call comes up, don't make a call. I guess it's easier in baseball because it's a more static game, and then they kind of relay down, all right, here's what happened, and then they can make their call. Rather than the NHL, it's so much more random.
Well, and then in the Stars Predators Game 7, the night after, there's a call in overtime where I think it was Dickinson flipped the puck up into the air and over the glass, but he was so close to the blue line that the referees weren't sure. Mm-hmm. So they conferenced for like a minute to try and figure it out. That time could have been spent using a referee, a referee review to fix that call to get it right.
Yeah, I hate reviews. By the way,
I agree. I agree with you on that.
All right,
If they add more reviews, it's going to be so bad.
I would happily wait an extra 5 minutes for them to get that 5-minute major right.
But you just said you like wacky calls because it makes it more exciting.
No, but I agree with Dan's point here that if they had an on-demand review, that the refs had a choice of their own to use as a tool and not like Toronto calling in and be like, nah, you got this wrong. We're going to embarrass you. Like if they use it on their own, sure, there is a margin of error there because when does a referee start second guessing himself and want to review every little play? But
well, and that was one of the comments I think that Rick had made was that, well, what if the referee decided not to review that play? Well, then he wears it more because he had the opportunity to fix it. He had the opportunity to go back and admit that, you know what, I didn't see it because I'm human and I wasn't looking at it. And then that's the end of it. But
also, in regarding to Vegas giving up the lead, did anyone notice their third goal with the high stick review?
Yeah,
that was clearly a high stick.
Yeah, he's 6
so
foot.
How did
6 foot on skates or off skates?
Yeah.
So and his stick was, if not parallel, just a little bit less than parallel with his shoulders.
And that went to review, and they called it a goal. Like I was rooting for Vegas, so I was fine with it. But I mean, that shouldn't have counted at all.
Yeah. No, and Shark fans did say, you know, I wasn't watching closely enough to say whether or not that they were getting the calls, but Sharks fans had been complaining about the refereeing up until that point.
Yeah.
In that game. So
long story short, everything bad that could have happened that game, just unlucky and everything, it happened, and it was a worst case for everybody, for Pavelski, for the refs, for the players.
On a different angle, I'm happy that Vegas fans finally have a reason to hate refs. You've been having too much fun.
Yeah.
So fuck you, Vegas fans.
Yeah,
I'm glad you got knocked out.
First
Welcome to
ever
the
adversity
fraternity.
as a fan base. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm glad you got knocked out. Enjoy doing whatever you want in the city that you live in. You fucking spoiled bastards.
Agreed.
Yeah, enjoy watching Vegas 51's AAA baseball.
Looking at the playoff brackets, boys, I want to touch base on how we all did in the first round. I will start off by saying the only two things that I got right in this first round was I picked St. Louis to beat Winnipeg, and I picked Boston to beat Toronto. Everything else is wrong.
Nice. That's fair.
Everything else is wrong.
2 out of 8.
2 out of 8. Great job.
We should mention Jared and Evan both had 1 out of 8. 2 out of 8. 2 out of 8 for Evan, and Nation Millie had 0. 1 out of 8.
How many did you have?
St. Louis. I had 3. I went 3 for 8.
I went 3 for 8.
I had St. Louis, Boston, and New York.
I had St. Louis, Carolina, and the Islanders.
And as your table champion, I went with 5. 5 out of 8. I had the entire East picked correctly, and my West was a disaster. I just had picked Colorado correctly, but everything else went poorly.
Wait a minute. What did Evan get right? Evan got Boston. No, you picked Winnipeg, my friend.
Oh, you're trying to lie.
You're a
You
liar.
can come and feel
Evan's
free to
coming
look
in
at
here
your
and
bracket.
He's checking Bag
He
Milk's
is
eyes
checking
now.
my work.
That's unbelievable.
I am looking at Evan's bracket.
Is this
in
in the
front of me.
article
He thinks
that,
that he is going to get credit for a series that he did not pick. He is now going to a different thing. You can look on your own computer.
Is this
my
the article
friend.
that you put
I
up that you
need this
didn't
for
include me in?
the
Yeah,
podcast.
Chris
wrote
goes
it.
and makes an article on the website with everyone's bracket. He just doesn't put me in there.
It's because I asked everybody to send me their brackets, and you're the only
I
one.
tweeted mine.
Shout out to Tyler
don't care.
Yaremchuk for getting none correct.
That's
Really?
He had 0 for 8.
Man, that's incredible.
That guy doesn't.
That's
know.
almost as impressive to me as almost going a perfect bracket in the sense that how do you not accidentally get one?
Well, and it sets you up for the next round because you listen to his picks and you just fade everything he said. You just go against everything he picked.
So now Evan is showing us an alternate bracket where he picks.
You can't just
You can't just have multiple
He's just got
brackets.
15 brackets over.
This
Because
is
you
what
have your
Evan-
name on it doesn't mean that that's
Evan
the-
did this in our March Madness tournament. I saw he sat at a computer for 36 straight hours and he put together 5,000 brackets. And he still finished last in our March Madness pool.
He didn't enter them into anything, and then he just kept saying, I would have picked that. I would have picked that.
So
I
if
would
it-
have picked that upset. I would have had the top 4.
He was also literally emphatically screaming about how Dallas. What did you say?
he wanted Calgary to be the biggest
Yeah,
upset.
he says Calgary's an upset. He's a big Calgary Flames fan over here.
Wow.
Evan is rattled because we called him out on shenanigans.
He's shook. You were shook deep down because you knew you made 10 brackets and you didn't get anything right on any of them.
With we only got a couple of minutes left here, boys. So I want to do some quick predictions here on the second round. We're going to go around series by series. We're going to start in the West. Dan, who do you got for Dallas St. Louis?
I still don't believe in St. Louis. I'm going to say Dallas in 6.
Dallas in 6 for Dan. Chris,
Evan's
who do you got?
just
You've got
losing it.
Dallas St. Louis. Who you got?
I want to preface my picks by saying that every series is a coin flip, but I have St. Louis in 7.
St. Louis in 7 for Chris. Cam?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have to go with St. Louis too. Again, it was the same thing with the Nashville thing. Dallas just seems so bad. I don't get how they're there. It doesn't make any sense.
Ben Bishop can steal games, though.
They're so bad.
We're going to go over to our audio team.
Them
Evan,
beating
who do you got?
Nashville's so shocking.
Dallas St. Louis. Evan is thinking. He's looking around. He's going St. Louis in 6 for Evan. And Jared, what do you got? Jared is coming down off the high of his... Jared's sticking with St.
Rolling
Louis.
with it.
I
Did we
like
all
it.
pick St. Louis?
I am
Nope,
going to go
Dallas here.
with... I'm going to go with
Winnipeg.
St. Louis in 6.
Oh,
I'm going to go St. Louis in 6.
Lots of St. Louis.
5-1 for St. Louis.
So Dan is on Team Dallas. The rest of us are on St. Louis. Let's jump over to Colorado, San Jose. Daniel?
Oh, I want Colorado to win this in 3, but I think Colorado wins it in 7.
Chris?
I want San Jose to win it. Now that San Jose beat Vegas, I'm like, I want to see Thornton win a cup so bad. But I'm going Colorado in 5.
Colorado in 7.
Yep,
Colorado
so-
in 5 for Chris.
I
Cam?
think San Jose found their momentum when the ref gifted them that fucked penalty. I think San Jose is going to win this in 6.
I'm going to go San Jose in 7. Evan? San Jose, Colorado. Evan is thinking. Colorado in 6 for Evan. Jared? San Jose in 6. We are now over to the Eastern Conference. We got Columbus and Boston. Columbus and Boston. Dan?
Fuck them.
I think Boston in 5.
Oh, bold. Chris?
Oh, this is a tough one.
Columbus, Boston. Chris is thinking.
Is it that tough?
Yeah, I really want Columbus. I'm going Columbus in 6.
Cam?
I'm going Columbus in 5.
Columbus in 5.
They're going to
I'm
win
gonna
the
go-
four in a row.
I'm going to go Boston in 7, though my heart wants Columbus to win.
Yeah, what's going on here? Why?
I
You don't believe
just-
in the Blue Jackets?
I don't, but I also picked them to lose in the first round. So what the fuck do I know?
You have to
Evan,
bet with your head.
you got Boston in 6, Jared? Got Boston in 6. Last series, we got Carolina and New York. Daniel?
New York in 5.
New York in 5. Christopher is thinking. He's got his eyes closed. He is pondering. Carolina and New York Islanders. Go ahead, my friend.
Islanders in 7.
Islanders in 7 for Chris. Cam?
Carolina in 7.
Oh boy, Carolina in 7 for Cam. I'm going to go with New York in 6 because I'm cheering for my boy Ebbs. Why not?
Yep.
Evan? New York in 5 for Evan and Jared.
Let's go.
Carolina in 6 for Jared. We are split on the East a little bit.
I may
West.
need to amend my picks because I've lined up too many with Evan, and I know how wrong he is.
That is a bold. That actually, you know what? You're right. You're right. Or you can just do what Evan does, and no matter how the series goes, you just lie and say you
True.
pick the other team.
True.
So that's what I would
Evan's
go
going
with.
to go back and edit the audio on the podcast to accommodate selection.
I want to go ahead and thank our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. Go on out to Adopt a Petathon starting tomorrow, which is Saturday at 1 o'clock. I want to thank hogstore.com for making us all smell a little bit better. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Shout out Damien.
Best wishes.